Welcome to the Maine Famous podcast. I'm your host, April Shaw-Beaudoin, and today I'm sitting down with Gretchen Osther of Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens in Boothbay. Gretchen is one of the most inspiring speakers I've seen in Maine, and she was on my dream list for the Maine Famous podcast. So when she said yes this year, I have just been doing a touchdown dance for the past 2 months getting ready for this interview. One of the things that I love about the Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens is that it's such a great opportunity to spend a day with your family. You can have great grandparents who might be in a wheelchair, you can have your kids who might be in a stroller, and everyone in between. This is a very accessible attraction in Maine, and it's a place where learning doesn't feel painful. It's really fun, and Gretchen brings that fun to this interview. Make sure to stay tuned all the way to the end for the lightning round. It's one of my favorite parts of the whole interview. I'm so excited to share this conversation with you, and we're going to get right to it. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Simon Griffiths, President and CEO of Camden National Bank. Camden National Bank is celebrating 150 years of standing beside the people, businesses, and communities that make Maine and New Hampshire home. And at the heart of it all is you. Every step of the way has been made possible because of your support. Even as we've grown, one thing has remained: our deep commitment to the communities we serve. We're not just here to offer financial guidance. We're here to show up, lend a hand, and be a true partner through life's big moments and everyday milestones. We're especially grateful to Maine Famous for shining a light on the local businesses and neighbors who shape the heart of Maine. Thanks for being part of our story.
I have been looking forward to this interview ever since we first got to chat last October and November, and you gave that opening speech at Gardens Aglow. I was like, she is a dream guest on the podcast. So I can't tell you how thrilled that I am to be sitting here with you today and to talk about the Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens, but also to learn more about you, because you have a really interesting story, and I want to hear how you got to Maine.
Okay. Well, I grew up coming to Maine. Interestingly, my dad was one of the founding trustees of the Hurricane Island Outward Bound School. So I grew up coming to those annual general meetings and being, this tall and watching people do the ropes course and wanting to get on the ropes and camping out in tents. And I sort of loved that whole thing, and I wasn't big enough to do the ropes course. And then my dad died when I was pretty young, when I was in 9th grade, and my 16th birthday present was a 26-day outward bound course here in Maine on the coast, a down east sailing course.
Oh, wow.
And I fell in love with it. And so after that, I became an instructor as soon as I could when I was still in college after my sophomore year. I was one of the younger instructors at that time. Had spent my life on the water up until then. And so I worked for Outward Bound for almost 20 years,
Oh.
starting in college. And so I landed at Hurricane Island Outward Bound School and was lucky enough to kind of work my way up the ranks to a leadership position there. And then moved into leadership at Outward Bound USA. I was overseeing all of the training and curriculum and course efficacy research for all of Outward Bound in the United States.
Wow.
Yeah. And then there came a point in my career there and my life where I needed to either make a move out to Colorado or stay in Maine and leave Outward Bound. And I needed to stay in Maine for my family. So I started looking around and saying, well, where is there an organization whose values align with mine, that I could get excited about? And LL Bean was looking for a talent development consultant at the time. And, at Outward Bound, the outcomes are character development and leadership and service. And you do that through teamwork. And so a lot of the skills that I had developed there and that I had then articulated through, building a whole training curriculum were about leadership and teamwork. So it kind of fit, even though I had no formal HR training.
And then you did kind of a big segue while you were at
Yes.
LL Bean
Yes.
from that role.
I was in that role for not even a year,
Oh,
and the
okay.
role leading the outdoor schools opened up, and that, of course, fits so squarely in my wheelhouse
Mhm.
because of all of my Outward Bound experience. So I put my hat in the ring for that and got that job and was so lucky to be
Mm.
at LL Bean leading that program for a decade.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did do some research
Mhm.
before this interview today, and I think that I read that you were in charge of 500 people at LL Bean
Mhm.
all across the country
Mhm.
leading outdoor programs.
That's
And I
right.
was so curious what did get you so excited about being outside.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you covered that a little
A
bit.
little bit. I mean, but the through line really is, it's kind of two things with the outdoors. My whole kind of adult life and career has been about helping people live their best lives
Mm,
by spending time in nature,
mm,
and then also hopefully helping them um, become stewards of the environment
mm,
by spending time in nature and wanting to take care of our planet.
mm,
Because, we know that when people have meaningful experiences outdoors, they're
mm,
more likely to be stewards and care about the planet. And
mm.
yeah.
What was one of the moments or initiatives that you developed that you
Mm.
are most proud of when you were at LL Bean?
Mm. Well, um, we expanded. So when I started that role, we were doing programming in every place that LL Bean has a store. They also
Okay.
have an outdoor program, so they teach classes about the things they sell product in. So kayaking, fly fishing,
Mm,
think about LL Bean, canoeing,
mm-hmm,
hiking. Um, But then we expanded that to really think about how do we engage our customers and kind of get them excited about the outdoors and learning about the outdoors and feeling more confident to
mm-hmm,
be outdoors. So we developed, our team was responsible for kind of the customer engagement in the store as well, and all this whole suite of free programming that happened
mm,
through the stores. So clinics in the stores, outings, kind of like meetups. Meetups
mm-hmm,
were really popular
mm-hmm,
then, and so we would do a lot of those, and even service projects where we would kind of get with a like-minded organization, maybe a land conservation in
mm-hmm,
the local area, and go out and do trail clearing or help eradicate invasive species or something like that.
mm,
So that was really, it just expanded the whole thing, and it made it more accessible
mm-hmm,
because all of this was free.
mm. And now you have hundreds of thousands of people coming
Yes.
to the Coastal Maine Botanical
Mhm.
Gardens. And I think you've grown that quite a bit since
Mhm.
you started. How long
Yes.
ago
I
where did you join?
I started in July of 2020.
Oh,
So, at the heart
okay,
of COVID.
okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Tell us all about that.
Well, I mean, so talk about a challenging leadership moment, right? To try to step into an
Wow.
organization and get to know people when you can only see this much of them,
Mm-hmm.
you can't like have the kind of conversation that we're having even,
Mm-hmm.
because everyone's a little nervous about being too close to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So it was tricky, but then, things evolved and
Mm-hmm.
I was able to get to know the team, and uh, so that was a challenge and one that was overcome.
Mm-hmm.
And we were lucky because this confluence of things happened where people kind of discovered the outdoors during COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And we had Thomas Dambo come and build the Guardians of the Seeds, our 5 giant trolls at the gardens.
Yes.
And that got a lot of attention
Mm-hmm.
because of the moment in time that we
Mm-hmm.
had, that we were in as a country. And so um, our visitation that summer that we opened that exhibit, which was 2021,
Mm-hmm.
literally tripled.
Wow.
So, talk about building the plane while you're flying it. It's like we knew how to do this one thing with
Mm-hmm.
this amount of guests, but then we had
Mm.
a totally different number of people visiting us, and we were still having to do all the COVID things like, maintain distance and those kinds of
Yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about the trolls. I think I've
Oh,
only seen two of them.
oh, you have to come back in the
I
summer for
will.
sure.
Trust
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Trust me.
So one of the things I love about the trolls, Thomas Dambo is a recycled wood artist. He has this whole family of trolls, like a whole mythology that he has built. He's from Denmark.
Okay.
And so part of their mythology is about trolls.
Hmm.
And they're like, these are happy trolls. We're not
Okay.
talking about internet trolls, and we're not talking about trolls under bridges. They're nice, but the trolls have sprung out of the ground come back because us little people are not doing such a good job taking
Hmm.
care of the planet.
Hmm.
So that's why they're coming back to all these different
Hmm.
places. And he's very particular about where he puts the trolls.
Hmm.
He also fell in love with Coastal Maine
Hmm.
Botanical Gardens and the magical nature of the place.
Hmm.
And so we have one of the largest troll installations in the country,
Hmm.
although now he's trying to build a troll in every state, which is
Oh,
kind of
neat.
cool. And also then is getting more and more people excited about our trolls and
Yes.
wanting to come and see them. The thing that I love about what we're doing, though, that's a little different than a lot of the other places is that Thomas worked really closely with our educational team. We really wanted this to be something educational
Hmm.
and to have a whole story woven
Hmm.
into it. And so each one of the trolls represents a different part of the tree,
Hmm.
and they have a different wisdom that they're bringing to
Hmm.
bear. And there's a whole story that they tell around biodiversity loss and the importance of like protecting the trees and the seeds.
Hmm.
And so and we've created this scavenger hunt that kids can do where if they find all of the trolls, then they'll go to another part of the gardens
Hmm.
that's deep in the woods. And we have this beautiful ring of bronze cast seeds of all of the 10 trees that are
Hmm.
kind of native to Maine.
Hmm.
And they're mounted on granite. And it's this really special kind of grove with this heart pine in the middle, this giant pine tree. And so it's just kind of a really special magical experience, and people are learning something really
Hmm.
important.
Yeah.
But because the trolls are so fun and magical, like it doesn't feel like
Hmm.
we're hitting anyone over the head with like, you
Hmm.
need to do these things or you need to care about these things. It's like
Hmm.
you just can't help but caring about them.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was growing up, we would go to Funtown to
Oh yeah. Yep.
so it's just very entertainment
Uh-huh.
focused, but to go and have entertainment but also be learning and
Mm-hmm.
be in such a beautiful environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's perfect for families.
It
It's
is.
perfect. It's a very accessible place.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think when you were talking about Gardens Aglow, you said this is a multi-generational
Yeah.
activity, which
Right.
there's not a lot of those that are around anymore, especially in the winter.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So,
I mean, that is one of the things I love also, just to circle back to where we started about my career
mhm,
trajectory, is it's gotten more and more accessible, right? Like
mhm,
not everyone's going to do a 26-day outward bound course or even a 2-week or
mhm,
1 week outward bound course. And then, LL Bean, the things are a day long
mhm,
maybe. And this, it's like anyone can do it.
mhm,
The gardens are truly accessible
mhm,
for everyone. And it's actually a big part of our focus is physical accessibility, all kinds of financial accessibility. Those
mm,
are, things that we really care a lot about and think a lot about.
mm.
So it's cool.
It is cool. I want to talk about some of the specifics about the
Mm-hmm.
garden. I was Googling and I wrote some things down, but I know you'll just be able to rattle them right off the top of your head. But Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens is one of the only botanical gardens on the ocean,
Mm-hmm.
in
It's
the
true.
country.
Yes, we have a mile of shoreline
Mm,
at Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens on the back river, which is a brackish river. So
mm-hmm,
it's off of the Sheepscut, but it is saltwater and it is tidal.
mm,
And yeah, one of the things that I love about the gardens, it is Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens. And these gardens, you feel like you're in Maine.
mm,
Like you would not see this kind of garden anywhere else.
mm,
We really emphasize the ledge and we emphasize the forest surrounding all the gardens
mm,
and, really try to weave in a lot of native plants to New England, and show people how you can build a beautiful garden using native plants
mm.
and some non-natives and cultivars also, but so yeah, it's a really special place in that regard.
Yes, and it's huge. How
It's
many
huge,
acres?
325 acres. Yep.
Amazing.
Yep, about 20 acres of cultivated
Mm-hmm,
gardens, and then we have, of course, all the natural area. We have 3 or 4 miles of
mm-hmm,
trails, depending on how you walk them, and
mm,
so one of the things that I love about the Trolls exhibit too is that it at one point it used to be that people would come to the gardens and they'd really stay in kind of the central gardens, the central cultivated
mm-hmm,
gardens, and the Trolls got people out to the
mm-hmm.
farther reaches of the gardens because we have some beautiful gardens that are further away also, and plus then you're just walking through the woods and that is a wonderful experience
Yes.
too.
I'm embarrassed to say that I've been a couple of times, but only to Gardens
Mm,
Aglow. So that's why I have to come this
you
summer
do.
and find all the trolls. I want to talk about the Learner Garden
Oh,
because
yeah.
it is a place where you
Hmm.
can experience the garden with all five senses.
Hmm.
And I want
Hmm.
to know, how can people taste
Mm.
in the
Yeah,
Learner
so we
Garden?
have a whole area of the garden. So the five senses are kind of emphasized in different areas of the
Okay.
garden. And so the taste area, we have all of these edible plants. So
Okay.
you can
Wow.
literally pick a leaf and taste it.
Wow.
Yep. And that area of the garden also happens to be where we do our horticulture therapy programs, which are, really wonderful programs that we do with all sorts of different parts of the community where the design of the gardens is the beds are actually kind of the height of this table so that if you're in a wheelchair,
Mm,
you can actually go up to the garden bed and work in it and
mm.
take care of plants or work the soil.
So it's interactive in a way I didn't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's one of the other unique things about the gardens. They're really designed to be immersive
Mm,
and
mm,
interactive. And, one of the things that I think about with botanical gardens and like kind of one of the myths about botanical gardens, people hear that and they think, well, I don't belong in a botanical garden
mhm.
because I don't know any Latin names of plants, or I don't even care about plants, or
Mhm,
every plant I try to grow, I kill.
mhm,
And that's like, it's so not that, especially our gardens. They are so accessible
mm,
for everyone, and there's something for everyone. We have all
mm,
this great art. We have things like the trolls. We have the learner garden of the five senses, which is super interactive,
mhm,
and you can learn so much about plants. And then we have this amazing children's garden that is
mm.
really interactive. It's kind of designed around five children's books that are set in Maine.
Oh.
So think like Blueberries for
Mhm,
Sal or Down to the Sea with Mr. McGee by Chris Van Dusen. So
hmm.
those are inspiring the design of the garden.
Wow.
And, we have chickens in that
Oh,
garden. And
you
we have
do?
a story barn where kids can read books that are all like by Maine authors.
Hmm.
And there's a little learning garden where kids can dig and they can water the plants. And
Oh, wow.
so it's not precious at all,
Mm.
and you don't need to know anything about
Mm,
plants to enjoy it. And then, we have all we have this amazing other area of the garden called the Fairy House Village. And kids of all ages are
mhm.
encouraged to build fairy houses.
Oh, and they do that with, like, moss and twigs.
Yeah, twigs and, things that are not living
Mhm.
ideally, and so
Okay.
we have little guidelines about but yeah, twigs and bark and leaves and,
Rocks? Right?
rocks. Yep, yep,
Okay. All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well,
And we
I'm
actually collect little baskets. We have volunteers that will collect baskets of
okay.
materials just to make it a little easier for them.
Yeah. How does Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens integrate with the community here?
Yeah. We, um We think a lot about the community. In fact, I'm gonna get to answering your question, but I'm gonna start by talking about our origin story because
Okay.
I think it's really unique and different from most other
Mm,
public gardens out there. So when you think about big public gardens in the United States, like maybe you've heard of Longwood or the New York Botanic
mhm,
Garden or places like that, many of them are started, or even like the gardens up on Mount Desert Island, the Land and Garden Preserve.
mhm,
They, were founded by a gift from a family who
mhm,
had a private home and, basically endowed these gardens and said, "Make them open to the public." Or they're connected to a university, and
mhm,
so the university is funding them, or they're connected to, a city, and the city is funding them. So, we don't have any of that. We call ourselves the People's Garden, and it was a group of, a small group of people that got together in the early 90s and they said, we should have a botanical garden in Mid-Coast Maine, which is such an unlikely place. It's an hour from any
mhm.
population center. And so they looked around for a long time. They incorporated in 1992. So next year, 2027 is going to be our 35th year of
Oh, wow.
incorporation. It happens to be our 20th year of being open because then we
Oh,
opened in 2007.
yes.
But so they looked around, found our site. They mortgaged their own homes
Wow.
to buy the property to start this garden. So it wasn't like they were super wealthy and they
Wow.
were going to give a big gift to start this garden. And so this garden has been kind of volunteer led
Mm,
and volunteer, or the first 20 years were really led by volunteers. I think we hired our first paid position in 2006.
Wow.
So, and then, we've kind of exceeded expectations almost every time we've done something big, it's exceeded our
Mm.
expectations. So wait, what was the question you asked me that I
How
needed
they
to
how
answer?
they integrate with
Oh,
the
yes. So
community, which
so
you
I mean,
are.
like, that is the people's garden piece, right? So we have all these people in the community that really wanted to
Mm.
make this happen. And now today we have over 200 volunteers
Wow.
that are helping us, create a magical experience for people who
Mm.
are visiting the gardens. And we have wonderful programming with the local community. So every family that lives on the peninsula that has a third grader, we'll give them a family membership. And then we
Oh.
do programming in the schools with the third grade so that it's connecting. So we help all of the schools with gardens on the school properties, but then the kids also come to
Mm.
the gardens
Mm.
throughout the year. We had third graders from Boothbay at the gardens a couple weeks ago,
Oh.
bird watching in the snow. So there's that piece. There's the educational piece, and then we're connected with other organizations in the area, kind of that have similar missions or things that they're
Mm.
trying to do, and we make sure that the gardens are accessible to the local
Mm.
community. So we have free, Booth Bay residents can come
Mm.
for free during the regular season on the
Mm.
weekends, and Lincoln County residents can come for free one day
Oh.
a week and
Mm.
or one day a month. So, things like that.
That's great.
Yeah.
You have how many people work at the botanical gardens now?
Yeah, we've got 80 full-time year
Okay.
round, and then in the summer we hire another 40 to 60
Wow.
people that are, part-time and seasonal.
What are the 80 full-time employees
Mhm.
doing right now?
All kinds of things. It's actually, we're as busy as we are any other time of year. So some of them are taking down lights
Mm.
from Garden to Glow.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are wrapping up those lights and testing those lights. Many of them, are kind of administrative team. This is our busiest time of year for our educational team. They're planning all of the
Mm.
programming for that will start next, in weeks,
Mm.
actually. Our marketing team is busy getting ready for the summer season and planning the whole year. Our facilities team is sprucing things up and
Mm.
fixing things, and the custodial team, and the finance team is always
Yeah.
well. This is our fiscal year ends this month, so we're in budget season
Mm.
also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Less
Yep.
fun stuff.
Our philanthropy team is always busy working.
Mm.
Of course, we're a nonprofit, and
Mm-hmm.
while some of our revenue comes from earned revenue from people buying tickets or memberships or spending money at the garden shop or the cafe. A lot of our support comes from philanthropists,
Mm.
also, and people
Mm.
give, donating money to the gardens.
Mm. I think that I remember when you were giving your speech that you said that the gardens are the third most visited
That's right.
attraction in Maine.
That's right.
What are the first two? But also,
Yeah, Acadia National Park
hmm.
and then Sugarloaf.
Okay.
And we are only, just a, few
Wow.
thousand people behind Sugarloaf. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
That's amazing.
hmm
And what kind of growth are you seeing over year? Is it?
It's interesting. We've seen steady growth in the summer the past few years. I mean, like, 6%, maybe
Mhm.
something like that, 6 to 10% each year. This past year, Gardens Aglow dropped off a little bit. And I attribute that to a couple things. I think people are, feeling the economic
Yep.
uncertainty. And then the weather was terrible
Yeah.
for the last few weeks of December. It
Mm.
was really challenging.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Well, I know whenever I've gone, it is
Mhm.
just people are having so much fun.
Mhm.
So, as people plan their trip
Mhm.
to Boothbay, to Midcoast,
Mhm.
to the gardens, how long should they plan to stay? Because you do have a cafe.
Yes, we
That
do.
that was a surprise to me when I got there.
Mhm.
Maybe it won't be a surprise to everyone, but it's a
Mhm.
great place for families so they can really extend their stay.
They can. Yeah, and if you're coming in the summer, I mean, you could easily spend a full day there.
Hmm.
Um, 3 hours would be a short visit.
Okay.
It'd be hard to spend less than 3 hours because once you start going through the gardens, you're gonna wanna keep going because they're that special,
Yeah.
and they really are changing every few weeks in the summer.
Mm.
I mean, that is one of the things that's amazing about a garden is it's always changing and
Mm.
it's growing. So yeah, that I would say a full day or at least a half a day in the
Okay.
summer. Yep. And
Okay.
then Gardens Aglow is different because of
Mhm.
course it's cold and it's nighttime.
Mhm.
So most people spend an hour to an hour and a
Mhm.
half during Gardens Aglow.
And when do you open for the season this year?
Yes, we open for the season on May 1st and then we're open through the third week in October. Yep.
Okay.
And there's one day that I definitely want Mainers to know about, or one weekend. So we every year have something called Maine Days where Mainers can come to the gardens for free. You still
Wow.
need to sign up online for a ticket because, we have limited space. We don't want it to be so overrun that people don't have a good experience. But yeah, so it's free to the public for 3 days, and that is the
Wow.
last weekend in May this year.
And what is blooming the last weekend in May?
Oh, well, it kind of depends on the winter,
Okay.
but the rhododendrons should be blooming. A lot of the early spring flowers, so think like peonies and baptisia, and um, it's actually it's a really beautiful time of
Mm.
year. Helleborus are blooming. There's a lot that's blooming.
Mm.
A lot of the flowering trees are blooming still.
Mm.
Um,
So people should
yeah.
bring their cameras.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, yeah,
At the beginning of the interview, you were
yeah.
talking about finding a business that you wanted to work with
Mm,
that aligned with your values.
mm-hmm.
And you talked about LL Bean doing that. And I do believe that this was an easy segue
Yes.
into Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens because it's also aligned.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me about the mission?
Yes, yes. So the mission of Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens is to inspire meaningful connections
Mm,
between people and nature
mm,
and promote plant conservation
mm,
through horticulture, education, and plant science.
mm,
And so one of the things I love telling people about is like, so what does that mean? What do you do? A lot of people don't realize that botanical gardens are they kind of have ours at least has 3 different really big, meaningful buckets of
mm,
work that we do. So we have our horticulture, and it's world class. We have these beautiful, unique gardens to Maine. And we have what's called a living collection. So the plants in our garden, they are accessioned. So you think about like a museum of art or something, and each
mm,
piece of art they accession and it's part of their collection.
mhm.
Our plants are our
Oh.
collection. So we are a living museum
Oh,
in one
okay.
way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we keep track of those plants. And then our plant science team, this is probably the least known part of what we do, but we are a scientific organization.
Mm,
And right now, we actually are in the process of building this amazing new part of our whole program, a horticulture and plant science center, which will have a molecular biology
mm.
lab in it, and a
Wow.
seed bank, and a cryopreservation chamber, and an herbarium. So our team is really studying the impacts that climate change is having on plants
Mm,
in northern New England,
mm,
and then we have all these greenhouses in this facility that we're building that we will use both to grow plants for our gardens, but also we can do research on plants and we can put them into different environmental conditions and see, well, what happens
mm,
if the temperature heats up another 10 degrees? What
mm,
will these plants do?
mm,
And so we have a whole body of work that we do both at the gardens, but then out in the field also where we're, inventorying the plants in Maine and
mhm,
seeing what's happening as the climate is changing and it's warming. And
mm,
we work with universities, we
mm,
work with, places like the Nature Conservancy, we work with, the Maine Natural Areas Program, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, like lots of different agencies, and
mm.
do research with them.
What is the most disturbing thing that you have discovered through some of
Oh,
this research?
well, I would say this is a little more general. If one of our scientists were here, I'm sure they'd have a very specific answer for you.
Mhm,
But what I've discovered that is most disturbing is that we are losing hundreds of plant
mm.
populations every day across the planet. They're going extinct.
Oh.
And people don't know that. Like, so that's
Mm,
the plant conservation piece of our work that's
mm,
really important and that
mm,
we're passionate about. And, a lot of those extinctions are happening in places that are being more dramatically impacted by climate change right now. But we also are seeing it happen
mhm.
right here in New England too. And I think it's only going to increase.
In the waters, I mean,
Right,
the Gulf
right,
of Maine is
right.
the fastest warming
Fast,
body of
exactly. And so that's affecting the whole coast.
yeah.
It's affecting the plants that grow in the
Mm,
ocean and next to the ocean.
mm.
Yeah.
What can Mainers do? to help both the garden and
Mhm.
maybe even in their individual
Mhm.
yards?
Yeah. I love that you asked that question because that gets to the third part of our mission, which
Mm,
is education, right?
mm,
So to help the gardens, become members,
mhm,
visit a lot,
mhm,
interact with the people at the gardens because they're a wealth of knowledge
mm,
and they're passionate about what they do. Or, if not becoming members, then, we also, donations are really important
mhm,
and, just engaging with the gardens in terms of what we can all do.
mhm,
Um, it's some of the things that you'll learn at the gardens about how we take care of our own backyards
mm,
or even the things that we grow on our porches if we don't have backyards.
mhm,
So, planting native plants,
mhm,
creating habitat for pollinators, composting,
mhm,
not using pesticides or
mhm,
chemicals in your garden,
mm,
or on your lawn. Like, there
mhm.
are natural ways to do it, or just, like, get used to kind of shift your perception of
Mhm.
what's beautiful,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
In Camden, on our road, we have a society, and
Mhm.
part of the society's role is to educate people on like, stop thinking about your yard as just like a golf course where
Right,
you're just
right,
trying to mow it all down. Like,
right,
how can you support the wildlife that
right.
is here?
Like, ideally, none of us would have yards anymore. They
Yeah.
are the least biodiverse things,
Mm,
that are growing out there,
mm,
I mean, uh, getting rid of the yards and planting, native plants that stay low
mhm,
would be the best thing many of us
mm,
could do. And they also need less water because they're adapted to the climate.
mm.
So, because that's another thing we're seeing in Maine is that, more and more drought is becoming a regular thing in
Yeah.
July and August.
Last year was crazy. We
Yeah,
got
I
so
mean,
much rain and then
yeah,
just absolute.
technically we're still in a drought.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
I
know
mean,
that.
that will probably change as the snow starts
Mhm.
melting and, the rains of spring come. But,
Mm.
yeah, technically.
Wow.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we haven't
Mhm.
talked about yet are monarchs. And
Mhm.
we had so many the first year that we lived in
Mm.
Camden, and then we noticed a decrease the next year. And so we went crazy planting things that would attract
Good
monarchs.
job. That's
And I
great.
know that one of the things people get really excited about in Maine is coming up
Mhm.
and seeing the monarchs.
Mhm.
What season can they come and they'll definitely see monarchs at the gardens?
Well, the great thing about the gardens is we actually have a native butterfly and moth house.
Oh,
So you can come anytime in July and August and you will see all sorts of butterflies, not
oh,
just monarchs. And you will see them at every stage of their life cycle, which is really
oh.
cool. You'll see them, come out of their chrysalis
Mm,
and you'll see them flying around. And so that's a really special thing that we
mm.
have. And if you want to see monarchs out in the gardens, it's the month of August.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when they're typically, actually, I'd say August even into September.
Okay.
Mhm.
And
It's when the milkweed is blooming.
yes. And really, people are going to have a different experience every time they
Mhm,
come to the
mhm.
garden. They don't have to go in May and then September and then come to Gardens Aglow. It
Right.
changes how often?
I would say every week it's a different
Okay.
place. Yeah. So, and if you're someone who loves the gardens or you just love being
Mm,
outdoors even and walking around in nature, it really is worth it to become a member
mm,
because it will pay for itself in probably 2 visits
mm,
and then you're also supporting us philanthropically, and
mm,
so that's really nice for us as
mm.
well.
Awesome. Well, for people who are listening and
Mhm.
you have friends and family visiting,
Yeah.
we know that everyone comes to Maine in the summertime. Make sure you bring them to Coastal Maine
Please.
Botanical
Yes.
Gardens.
Yes.
And we are going to have a lightning round with you in just
Okay.
a moment.
Okay.
But
Great.
first, a word from our sponsor.
Come walk the wharf at Lyman Morse. Grab a coffee at Vacation Land, pick up a board from Camden Charcuterie, sip a cocktail at Blue Baron, and then head upstairs to Salt Wharf for dinner. And don't rush off. Stay for the sunset. It's the sunny side of Camden Harbor. Taking care of your home just got easier. Porch Roofing is a full-service exterior company, providing roofing, gutters, exterior services, and a full repair division, all with one trusted team. Visit horchroofing.com or call 207 250 5529. Sample Shipyard in Boothbay Harbor is one of Maine's most iconic working waterfronts. They handle wooden boat restoration, modern yacht service, and everything in between. It's a place built on generations of craftsmanship. Contact them now about moorings, dockage, service, and storage.
I love
And
it.
we're back. Are you
Okay.
ready?
I am, I think.
Number 1, Gardens Aglow or Peak July Bloom.
Peak July bloom.
What do visitors miss when they rush through?
Oh, the individual beauty of a flower or a leaf,
Hmm.
or like the sort of the small things.
Hmm. Number 3, which is harder, growing participation or deepening impact?
Mm. Deepening impact.
Hmm.
Yeah. Although growing participation helps to deepen impact
Hmm.
because when you visit the gardens, you can't help but learn things.
Hmm. Beautifully answered. What's one Maine plant you think represents Maine best?
Mm. One of the objects that I brought, it's a Liatris blazing star is the common
Okay.
name. Yeah.
All right. I'm going to
Yeah.
have to go Google that.
Okay.
What does success look like in February?
Hmm. Uh, let's see. It is getting Gardens Aglow put away. It's being ready for the next year. It's having enough money in the bank
Mhm.
to pay for everything when there's no money coming in, but
That's
just
true.
money going out. Yeah.
Oh, I love this question. Number 6. What do you hope a 6-year-old feels walking through for the first time?
Oh, I hope they feel joy and wonder
Mm,
and curiosity.
I bet they
I think they do. I see a lot of that.
do.
It's my favorite thing to do on a summer day.
2 more questions. 1, finish the sentence. Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens exists to
Um, help people connect with nature
Mm,
and preserve nature.
mm. Last one. In one word, what do you hope people carry with them when they leave?
Hmm. Peace
Mm,
and a sense of responsibility.
mm. This was so delightful. Thank you so much for being on.
Oh, thank you, April. I loved your questions and your enthusiasm. Thank you. Can't wait to show you the gardens this
I
summer.
know. I'm really excited. That
Oh,
did not disappoint. Thank you so
oh,
much. That was
thank you.
wonderful.
That was great.